without further ado, let's jump into the edits that I have made from my previous video. First one is the center line. So rather than call it the baseline, I am now going to call it the center line. My dad made the point that it goes in the center of the words rather than below the words. So that's a really good call out. It needs to be called the center line. Second is, it's been a long time since I've written in normal cursive, and because of that, I forget sometimes that the letters I use are not normal cursive letters. So if you don't like any of my letters, then feel free to create your own and go with the flow and make up stuff until you do like it. Third thing is, a lot of cursive connects from the top, like that's an M, but my M has like a check mark and then goes into the loops and then comes back. So a lot of cursive connects from the top of things. My lettering connects from the bottom. So that was the other call out that I wanted to make before we get started. I'm going to show you today how to letter some stuff that you could use for everyday purposes. Please let me know if there's anything that's confusing or anything that needs clarification. I really want these videos to be helpful, and they can only be helpful if they make sense. We're gonna draw our center line, and we're gonna letter the word family. We're gonna start, go up, make a little loop, and go back to the baseline. With our A, instead of in cursive going around and coming back to loop, we're just gonna start at the top, connect it at the center line, and go back to the center line. Then M, like I said, it's kind of a check mark feel rather than a swoop feel. So the check, go into the loop, and end at the baseline. Center line. Sorry guys, I promise. It makes sense in my head, it just I'm so used to calling it the baseline. Then our I, we're going to, it's pretty straightforward, center line. L, loop up, go down. And you can obviously go up higher or you can play with it to make it your own. And this isn't necessarily how I would do it every time, I'm just showing you how I do it this time. There is family. In the first video, I was making the connection to cursive because all your letters are connected, whereas somebody who's never written in cursive, that might be a really hard concept for them to learn. We're now going to write the word thank you, because that can be used on, if you want to make your own card or whatever. We can do it really long, written out on one line, or we can do it two, and I'll show you both. Go T and come up. I really like my T to cross and come into my H. I think it just looks fancier. So you're gonna cross your T, kind of swoop up, come up, and match up where you ended your T. And then finish your H and bring it back to the center line. T, bring it up, and then swoop, and come. And sometimes, like obviously this is why you're practicing with something you don't care about, because it takes a lot of practice to be able to know where that's gonna line up. Just like that. You can just do it normal right now. You can just do, and then do whatever to your T. But I just think if you can learn it that way, it looks fancier and it's really fun when you get the hang of it. And then the A, again, you're coming from the top rather than continuing over and coming back. And then your N is the same concept as the M, it's like a check mark instead of a loop. So check mark, come back. And the K is very comparable to an L, and I give it a swoop, but then you end it like a normal K. Bank, and then U. And then the O, sometimes I start right at the center line just to give it more, the word more offset letters, but right now I'm just gonna start above and match back below and bring a loop and connect. And so that's an example that is different. Like after you have O, it's a letter that you connect differently. You don't drop it down to the center line and then bring it back up. Your U goes into your next letter, always, I think. That's the other thing that you'll get good at with practice is spacing of words, because obviously when you letter, you know, on something that's more permanent, like a sign, or you letter with Sharpie, I like to take, if my surface allows it, I like to take a pencil beforehand and kind of do it just so I get a grasp on what space it's gonna take. Okay, so, and obviously you wouldn't write your baseline if you couldn't erase it. T, come up, VH, VA, VN, and the K. And that's what I mean by continuous, is when you get a grasp on how the letters and where you start, you can do things more continuous, then they don't look like you stopped at every letter. And then U. Thank you. The last word I'm gonna write, so this video isn't so long, is happy birthday. I guess that's a phrase and not a word. We're gonna do it 2 lines, like so. Also, you'll notice this is just a stylistic choice that I have made in my hand lettering. You will rarely, if ever, catch me doing a capital letter. I avoid them at all costs because for me, I just like the look of lowercase letters better. I think it just flows better. And I honestly don't love capital letters. It's really weird. It just looks more fancy if you start it from away from the baseline. So I'm gonna do that with the H. So the H again, come down and then go right into the loop, come up. And your A, remember it starts away from and then connects. And then with a P, it's easier for me. I give it a little extra room above the center line so that I can just go right into it. And this is, I'm not trying to like hide anything from you guys. I told you I didn't like lowercase letters because I don't feel like I can make them look really great yet. I also don't love P's. I just don't feel like my P's look super pretty. So that's the other thing, is you'll have to find a way that you like. I'm still looking for a P that I like. Start down below just to give it some extra oomph. Oh, we haven't talked about R's yet. Okay, so there's 2 kinds of R's. I kind of go back and forth between them, honestly, depending on what I write out at that time. I don't really plan it. So there's more of an R that's this. It's like a loop and then down. The other R I do is just up, and it's kind of, it's not really, okay, how do I do it? Well, now I don't know how to do it, now that I'm showing you guys. You'll see it. You'll see that I have a couple different R's that I do depending on whatever. I don't know what it depends on. All right, then the H. And that's, remember, I like crossing the T. Unless I have multiple T's in the word. If I have multiple T's in the word, I just do the T, and then at the end I cross all of them at the same time. Yeah, I'll show you a word after this that has that. And I'm gonna connect my H like this, and then end it at the loop. And then the D is like the A, where you don't go over and then come back, you just start right here. It just makes it more clean. And then you can do it many ways. You can just come straight down with it. I like to give it a little loop just because it gives it something extra. And the A, again, coming from the top to the center line, and then the Y. And this time we're gonna try to do a Y that's like across the whole thing. You play with it until you like it. I don't super love that, but we're gonna move on. Happy birthday. I said this was the last one, but I will show you if you care. If not, I'll see you next time. But I'll show you what I mean by crossing the T's. Critter. I don't know, I can't think of another word. Okay, so draw your baseline. We're gonna go C, R, I, and then the double T, you just go this, do another T, and then go into your E, and do another R, and then I do the I, and then I am really fancy. Not really, it's really easy, you guys. But I just extend it over here, come over here. That's what I do if I have more than one T in the word, and they're close enough that they can be joined by that without it looking ridiculous. Some things I will be able to teach you as I'm asked for them, just because I don't really know even what the difference would be in normal writing, because I just write hand lettering so much now. So that is it, guys, and if you have any questions, reach out, and I want this to be the best process it can be for you to learn hand lettering. So grab your marker and letter with me.